collection you see here is, Zuzana tells me, in a certain sense, the exhibition that should be at the National Gallery in Bratislava, except there were political changes, the usual sort of carousel, people shuffling posts. They have quite a good collection at the National Gallery in Bratislava, but actually this is the collection that we should all be looking at. And what you see here in this rather small space is the crème de la crème, and a very carefully chosen exhibition by Zuzana from the work that she has been buying on behalf of the first Slovak Investment Group for the last 20 years. And so that collection is absolutely irreplaceable in a sense, and what you will see at the National Gallery has marched in step, but perhaps a couple of paces behind what Zuzana has achieved with this collection. By the way, I looked at the catalogue, I prepared a long speech, and I don't think I'm going to give it, because when you see the work, and especially if you have the opportunity to go around it with Zuzana, you have much more sense of the impact and the meaning of this collection. These hands have been switched off, I gather, for the speeches or something, but this sculpture by Jankovič, is from the it's influenced by pop, obviously late 60s or 70s or something, and the hands are supposed to be waving in unison, and that in a sense sets the theme. It's the way that artists have responded, artists who are outside the official system, right up to 1989, maintained their own independence and practice, their contacts with artists in neighboring countries, responded to ideas from the outside world, often working in isolation. But almost all these works here are kind of key works by the individual artists concerned. There's one by Melish over there, for instance. There are the two beside him, perhaps I need to refer to my notes here, which are of the sort of conceptual period. Pavel Binder, for instance, around here with these plasterworks, experimenting with new techniques, polyester relief works in the 1960s. You see the beginnings of an independent artistic practice with works of people like Marianne, excuse my pronunciation, Šundelik. At the beginning of the 60s, artists who were in tune with the informel, at a time when this was an international style that had swept the board in Documenta. You see works by Šundelik there, which represented a complete break with the official socialist realist paintings of the time. In a sense, there was a double divorce if you were living in Bratislava, as I understand it. There was a divorce from the centralized power and artistic patronage provided by Prague, which was the dominant partner in this federated republic. And of course, there was the divorce from the West. And one of the big surprises when I first went there was, after a long journey, and gone to Prague, a long trip across the country in a black limousine, to realize, of course, that just 1 hour's drive in the other direction was Vienna. And there's always been this consciousness, I think, of belonging to a different geography, a different history. And the isolation in Bratislava really was a fertile element, I think, in the sense that artists were left to their own devices. Maybe they were followed a little bit by the security police, but they on the whole, they could do what they wanted, provided they didn't put their heads above the parapet. And I think that's the essential message you get from the work in this collection. And there's different styles. You see the conceptual work from the 60s, the beginnings of abstract styles there. Later on, the attempt to join up with a sort of trans-avant-garde. You see some figurative, some hefty painting around the corner there. joining up with European styles. This was very much an experimental laboratory in Prague, in Bratislava. You could do what you wanted, and you could form your own relationships in a very tight-knit situation, up until 1989. After that, and all those different styles, all those different artists formed basis for a hypothetical, if you like, Slovak art. But by 2000, the idea of national styles were more or less dissolved, and that's where this exhibition finishes. So artists in more recent times are much more attuned to a sort of globalized art world, but nonetheless they seek inspiration in their roots in this very local and this very international smorgasbord of styles of the earlier period.